Today is August 3rd. It's Monday, and this is Flosstube 15. My name is Della Wilson, and I'm looking forward to sharing my cross-stitch projects with you. And I think we're going to start off, let's see, to this time I have myself a little list of things to do. I wanted to celebrate how many subscribers I have. This is a new channel for me, but it's also not a new channel for me. I just uploaded most of my videos to the wrong channel. They should all have gone on this channel from the beginning. So thank you for switching over and subscribing to this channel if you were already subscribed to the other channel. This is the channel where I'll be posting my videos from now on. And if you're brand new, thank you also for subscribing and seeing what I have to show you. And thank you, a big thank you to everybody who likes my videos. That just is very special. Thank you. And actually, some of my more recent videos have been getting a lot of views, and it has just really cheered me up and made me very happy that so many people wanted to see what I had to show. And I actually wrote down some names of some new subscribers. Now, I think I wrote this down a little bit ago, so you may not feel like a new subscriber, but I have here Verpi R, Ekaterina Nazarenko, and Laura Haas Culbertson. All were new subscribers this summer, and just wanted to welcome you to the channel. And so let me look at my little list, my little to-do list. And the other thing was I showed you a project bag in my last. I showed you a project bag in my last video, this one, and told you that I had gotten it on Etsy's at a shop called Susie B's. But I think I spelled it wrong when I told you where to go. So I'm just going to go into, this is her shop. I don't know, can you see on here? This is the correct way to spell Susie B's, Susiebees. And it's not Susie B's Designs, it's just Susie B's. And you can see here she does grime guards, but also she has project bags like the one that I have. She has all different lovely different kinds of fabrics that are just really pretty. But that's mainly what she has, is grime guards and project bags. That's just $26 for that project bag. And I didn't pay shipping, so she might have free shipping still. You should check it out. If you don't want to have to sew your own project bag. Okay, I don't know why I sat this over here like I was done with it. We're just getting started. So no. Okay, and then I sat and counted up how many projects I have now that I did my 31 starts in May, plus all of the old projects I've been finding in boxes and some of the new starts I did with the patriotic, America's 250th semi-quincentennial birthday celebration of the Declaration of Independence. I started some patriotic patterns for that, and I have some more that I'm going to start. Anyhow, right around 100 patterns. So that's works in progress, I guess, my whips. I'm happy with that number. I knew that I had a lot of projects that I needed to make progress on. So let's see, I think we'll just go ahead and start showing you. When I say I started 31 projects in May, if you didn't watch one of my earlier videos, that was my ambition. I picked out 31 projects to start. I started 5 in May, and then I started most of the rest in June, but there were 3 that I had not started that I intended to start in May. So I'm still calling them my mania projects, even though they were started in July. And I'm going to show those 3 to you now. And let's see. I don't know why I said that. I have all this other stuff that I wanted to do before I did that, because my little list is not in the right order. I have a list of the projects that I worked on, but that's actually not what I want to do first. I've been saying that I was going to show you some stuff I found in a box, and we'll go through that really fast and then move back. We'll move on to the works that I worked on, my new starts and my projects. This is an old project. This was in the box that I found all this wonderful stuff in, and I did not think to grab the pattern that it's in. This is just a very small part of the design. It's actually towards the bottom. There's more fabric on the top. There's like 6 different Christmas trees, I believe. So this is going to be a snow-covered tree, so where you don't see blue, I think that you fill it in with snow. That's just like a blue spruce covered with snow. Although it may be that the blue is supposed to be like the shadow on the snow, not the tree. I can't remember. It has been a long time. That is a very old project. You know, if it's not 20 years old, it's thereabouts. More than 15 easily. Okay. And that was the only like project to work on that I had already started that was in the box. The rest of it was fabric. Well, actually, scratch that. There was a couple things that people had made for me that I just wanted to go ahead and show you. There was this darling little handkerchief that my friend, my dear old friend, embroidered for me with my initial D. Yes, I am sorry. It's been sitting in a box. Okay, and then a lady in Idaho, one of my students, when I left Idaho where I taught, her grandmother, so her grandmother was from Mexico, I believe, her grandmother made these for me, 2 pillowcases. So not only did she do this embroidery, which I should hold it up close so you can see. I don't know if it's punch needle embroidery. It's whatever kind of embroidery this lady does. But it kind of like is loopy and puffy right there. See? So, and then she crocheted the pretty edges. And there are 2 of them. They have also been in a box all this time, but they can go on a bed. And they will look brand new because they will be just like new. I haven't used them in all this time. I thought that my friend had maybe made them for me, and she said, no, I didn't. And I thought, well, then the other person that could have been the lady in Idaho. This is some fabric, probably MCG or Wickelt, I'm not sure which. Or maybe not. It might be a cut of fabric that I got like at a cross stitch store, but it's like a very light blue. Probably 28 or 32 count. Can you tell? I'll have to measure it and find out. I'm not sure what I had originally got this for, or what I will. Yeah, I completely don't remember what project that was for. So I get to find something fun to stitch on that. But it was like a gold mine when I got in there. Look at this. This is the peach colored fabric that I bought specifically to do this project for my mom that I started back in April, and that's all I had gotten done. Very, very little. And the beauty of me only stitching a little bit is there's just a little bit to take out. And now I can stitch it on here, and I can use this for something else. So I'm very happy about that. And you're thinking, yeah, what are you stitching? I can't tell from the tiny bit of white, nor do I remember what you said, or maybe you didn't watch that video. So let me show you. I did actually grab the pattern this time to be able to show you. Hopefully if I just like turn my head or move a little bit, you like can't hear me sometimes. Then other times when I watch the video, I'll be like, oh, you could hear me. So hopefully you heard that. So this is a lavender and lace design. And it says told in a garden. But the name of the pattern, so I've written told in a garden as the name of the pattern. The name of the pattern is actually Morning Song. So the little bit I stitched is this, the baby's dress. So I was going to stitch that for my mom way back when I got it. And hopefully I can get it done. But I can at least get going on it instead of it just sitting in a box, not being worked on. My post-it says for Christmas next year, question mark, and who knows how many years ago I wrote that. But no, it did not get made for Christmas the next year. That's when I stopped saying that I was going to make things for people when I had planned to and then didn't. Should have left a spot to put all of the patterns and books once I'm done with them. There. Okay. There was also this lovely fabric for making a quilt, like for a little girl. And I never, I was with the idea of ever having a little girl, which I didn't. I have 2 cuts of fabric here. I can't imagine that I was going to put one on top of the other. I wonder if I'd gotten enough to have. I just was like, this is the cutest fabric. I want to have it. Then if I ever have a little girl, I'll have this fabric. And I knew I wanted to make a quilt. And maybe the rest of it was like for curtains or something. I don't know. But now it can just be a quilt or whatever. But that's like, yeah, just hand quilting. I love to hand quilt. And I found this. I knew I had this, but I hadn't come across it. This is Afghan fabric, but it's like for the size of a baby Afghan. And so I have another Afghan I can make. I was thinking of possibly doing all those wild animals in a book that I have, but I don't know if it's big enough for all the wild animals, so maybe not. But this, you guys, I'm pretty sure this is the fabric I bought to do the Persian floral pillow, the Teresa Winsler design. Let me show you the pattern. It's just a matter of figuring out where I stuck it. This pillow. Yes, somewhere I have a bag with like the little gold beads and probably all the floss. But I thought when I found the fabric, I thought, is there a good reason to wait till I find that? Which who knows how long that could be. Or should I just go ahead and get started? I just need one floss to get started. And by the time I finish it, maybe I'll find the beads. If not, I can buy some other beads to go on it. And those can make some jewelry with it or whatever. I don't know. But so this, I was just like, well, I was very happy to find the peach fabric because that was such a special fabric. This is just white, you know. This doesn't matter, but I could have done anything for this pillow. I didn't have a good reason to wait except that I knew I had bought this stuff. But so now that I've found it, there's no reason to wait and I can start making this. Okay. That was not the only fabric that I came across. I think this is for a crewel work pillow, but I didn't bring that down to show you. Um, but it doesn't have to be. I don't know if I need it to be even weave to do crewel work. And if I don't, then I should use this for a cross stitch project. That's such a nice size. Um, but I haven't decided what yet for. But it was like I'd gone shopping. I mean, I went shopping 20, however many years ago and got those things. And um, yeah, like a long time ago. They've been sitting in a box. So that was the stuff that I've been meaning to show you for like a month. Now I've finally shown you. And now I can show you projects that I've worked on and started. And although I was going to show you the Mania starts, we're going to actually start. Sorry, moving that out of the way. We're actually going to start with my Writing the Declaration Quaker. This is a Twin Peaks primitive. Sorry, everything fell. 1 second. You know, at least when I had the avalanche on the couch, it just fell onto the couch. When I have an avalanche in here, it falls onto the floor, the wood floor. Okay, this is not the first thing to show you. Okay, back to this. I had shown you the pattern, and I showed you this pattern back when I got it, and the fabric that I was going to do it on. Let me now show you a very tiny start on that as well. This was designed to fall because one of the things in the middle of the pile is like fat, like humped, and so nothing was ever going to stay. Which is why I don't build bridges and buildings for a living. That was poor planning on my part. Okay, so this is where I started. This is the sock or stocking of Man in Red, I believe. Under the table. I do a middle start. So I just have my little sock. I don't know if you can see it. It's pretty light. But I got myself started. I had the floss. I got started. I do need to work on this, obviously, quite a bit more. It's going to be beautiful when it's done. If you are not familiar with Twin Peaks Primitives, they're in the Netherlands. And yeah, that I was very excited to get that and get started on that. Okay. Let's see. I had everything all in order and they fell, so now they're not in order. Well, let's just show you this next one. Okay. Well, this is already on a. This is on a board. So this is another patriotic start. So this is the name Elizabeth for one of my ancestors. Oh, just to make sure you could hear. This is the name Elizabeth, which I haven't finished, for one of my ancestors. This is a variegated floss. I think it's called Loops and Threads. And I'm going to use various different blue and red flosses that I've bought, not all the same brand, and different alphabets, and cover this huge piece of fabric. See, it's really gigantic. with the names of my ancestors who were alive in 1776. Elizabeth Sundown lived in Virginia at that time, and she married a man named Caspar Lyric. Anyhow, I'm going to write something like Ancestors of 1776 if I have enough room. Otherwise, it will just have the names. If there's room for motifs or borders, great. Otherwise, it will just have the names of the different ancestors. Anyway, I have to finish her name first. Let's see. So that's a patriotic design I'm very excited about. That's on my mother's side of the family. If I can't fit them all on one fabric, I might put like my mom's on one and my dad's on another, and then add in like motifs and borders and words and numbers and things. Sorry, trying to not have my other pile fall. So those are the two patriotic designs I started in July. I have one that I'm going to start, which I will show you, but it's on the bottom of the pile. So we are gonna stick with where things are for a second. Okay, these are my 3 mania starts that I have not yet shown you. Sorry, I'm figuring out where I put the books. Oh, that little to-do list is only helping me be organized so much. Okay, this is one of the projects that I started called Garden Angel. This is one of the Marbeck angels designed by Rebecca Waldrop. It's a serendipity design. These are old patterns. I've had this for a long time. And I just started on the rose down here in the middle. And it's a teeny tiny start, as you know I do. So, let's see. Yeah, I don't know if I'm showing this to you up or down. Hold on. I think this is tall. Let's start here. So that's just the shape of a rose. Got more to do. I really didn't have hardly any of the floss for that project, so I needed to get the floss to be able to start it. That was the reason that one hadn't gotten started. But now it's started and I can work on it when I choose. And there's 2 more projects that I call my mania starts, even though they were started these, in July. Or, well, they could have been started. Yeah, they would have been started in July because I did my Flosstube at the beginning of July. So everything started in June. Okay. So one of my projects comes from The Charms of Christmas, which is a leisure arts book. I've already shown you that I started that one, but there was another one in here that I wanted to start that was a Christmas design. And let me find it. I mean, I could cross stitch this whole book. It's lovely. But this is called Delarobia Wreath. So I have just started on the ribbon down here. which I think you'll see when you see the color of this. I really, really enjoyed working on it. I have to figure out which is the top. I think this is the top. I don't know if you can see this up here. I know it's not much, but for me that's actually a good start. So that's the middle of the wreath right there. So this is like the ribbon in the different spots. The middle, when I say the middle of the wreath, like where there's no wreath, the center. Okay. And my other start, I mean, I took out more than you will see stitched because I tried various flosses to see what I thought. I tried some variegated flosses, which I wound up not liking. It's got the needle in it. I'm just gonna take that out. So this comes from the book Wildflower Designs for Needlework by Adelie Winter, or Adelie. It helps a little bit if you do this on the bottom. So this is a flower called Fire Pink. And this is a variegated green, which is not what the design calls for. This is the book published by Oxmoor House. And they show you their version is this right here. There's also a watercolor of the flower in here, of what the flower should look like. We'll take a look at that. Sorry. I did not do my whole idea of post-it noting or whatever, marking the pages. Oh, it doesn't want to show us. Here it is. And it tells you all about the flower. It's just a beautiful little wildflower. Silene virginica. Catchfly is another name for many members of the pink family because their stems and tubular parts are coated with a sticky secretion that traps flies and crawling insects, preventing them from collecting the flower's nectar. Oh, it protects the flower. The fire pink is not a carnivorous plant. The star-shaped blossoms of the fire pink are eye-catchers with 5-notched petals of fiery crimson. Each flower is about 1 inch in diameter, so it's pretty small, and appears along a slender, hairy stem that usually reaches a height of 1 to 2 feet. The oval dark green leaves are 2 to 5 inches long and wider at the tip than where they join to the stem. April to September are blooming months for the fire pink in the southeastern and central United States, so it's not around here. Look for their bright blossoms in open woods, along rocky slopes, and in dry areas along roadsides. At one time, herb doctors used a tonic made from the fire pink as a worm medicine. Wonder what it tasted like, but I'm glad I don't have to find out. Those are all of my mania starts. No more to show you that I started for my mania. From now on, when I show those, it will be progress that I've made on the projects, which I have not worked on them, any of them really. Well, yeah. I worked on other projects, but not any of that in July. Okay. So now I can show you my other projects that I worked on in July. These are projects that I already had going. I worked on Barbara Anna's House on Hill sampler. Yep, there's my my needle minder that I recently got. So it's down here. This is a stitch where it's kind of like a satin stitch. She shows a picture of it on the back of the pattern. I don't have a picture of the finished design. I filled in the sun, and I believe I worked a bit on the pear tree. I'm not sure. I don't think I worked on anything else. Possibly on the roses. But for sure on this and maybe on the pear tree. So anyway, other projects I worked on. Okay, so I've been showing this project for a while. It would be nice to finish it. This is a project for my mother. This right here. This is a project she stitched, but I am putting the border in. And when I show it to you, you're not going to see any progress, but I am going to show it to you. Because what happened was I got started to sew on. Well, I have made some progress. I take that back. I don't know why I say these crazy things. I have made because the reason I said it, but I was mistaken in making that statement. The reason I said it was when I first pulled it out to work on it. Sorry. I discovered a mistake. Now, it was a very simple mistake. 2 stitches I did not stitch. But those 2 stitches made a difference. And so I had to put them in so that everything would turn out right. And in order to put them, I could put them in just fine, but once I put them in, I had some stitches I had to take out because it changed where everything went. It goes over on this side. I had left out 2 stitches right here. Well, that's another row, right? And so that meant I had to take out on each section at the top and the bottom and anywhere in the middle. I had to take out to get it to go right. And then I had to take out some of the gold that was down here. I've left this in on this side. I may have to take some of that out still. I didn't take it out yet because I didn't want to take it out if I didn't need to, but probably I will have to take it out. But so then I have been putting in this gold down here. So yeah, I didn't get nearly as much done on this as I would have liked because of that. That took up time, and you know how it is when you have to unpick. It's just kind of discouraging, and it affects how you feel about the project. Not ideal, but it is what it is. So hopefully I'll have a lot more to show you on this the next time I show you. And the other thing is, I know, like, the reason I'm working on the top and not the bottom is I know I have a problem on the other side. That was why I was working on that side, to avoid it. And then I found a different problem. Oh, and of course, because my mother stitches single stitches and the opposite way from how I do, like her X's are crossed the opposite way from mine, which I mostly am pretty good about, but when you don't stitch cross country, it's easy, or it's easier to make those mistakes of going the wrong direction. And so I did, as I was going through unpicking the other problem, come across a couple places where I had done that. So I had to unpick those like individual, like there were only a couple, but I was like, no, I'm going to this much work on all of this. Like we took out the border she already had in to put in this new border to have it all look so perfect and right. I'm not gonna balk at taking those out at this point. They've got to come out. It's got to be nice. So, oh, I'll put the pattern in later. Okay, then we can move on. I had some rather bad health in the first part of July. That affected my ability to work on cross stitch. But do you know what is perfect for when you don't have much ability to work on cross stitch, or do anything else, but you start to have maybe the slightest bit of energy that maybe you could do something, is a small project. This is why everybody should have a small project. I mean, this is what I'm calling small, not a mini project, but small. So this is a kit. Oh, I'm getting a little pile of needles over here as they take them out of these projects. But yeah, I just have the one needle minder, so most of my projects just have needles in the fabric. But this is a kit I bought at Yellowstone National Park 23 years ago, but didn't start until just a few years ago. And then didn't work on for a few years. So when I say a few years ago, few to somebody like me. So I hadn't worked on this for a couple of years, but then I did. And look, now it actually looks like a buffalo. And I was watching something where a lady said, this is what it will look like when it's done. She said, we don't have buffalo in the United States. We only have bison. And it does say bison on there. But here's the deal. Everybody I know knows the term for buffalo and they know the term for bison. And it's not that you don't ever say bison, but it seems to me most people usually say it's a buffalo, not it's a bison. So it is a bison because technically I guess it's not a buffalo. However, in my mind, and when I was a kid and didn't even know the word bison, it was a buffalo. So you will hear me call it either or, buffalo or bison. Most likely I will call it my buffalo pattern. Even though it doesn't say buffalo right in the middle of it. But yeah, so this is from the Cozy collection. You might be able to find one online. I don't know if it's still in print and they still sell it, where it's like a national park kind of a thing. They could. I don't have a whole lot of kits. Some people just like exclusively stitch kits, but yeah, I just have like 3. So, and that was one of my first 2. Okay. This is going to look like it's a kit because I'm got it all in here, but no, I bought the fabric and thread separate. Which this is A Year in the Woods, the Barn Owl, from Cottage Garden Samplings, I believe. Yes, she has a whole bunch, which I think I've mentioned before. I'm going to try to not repeat myself with all the stuff I've said on this before. Even though, like when I watch other people's video and they'll refer to their other videos, I'll think, this is the first video of yours that I've ever seen. Or even if I've seen other videos of theirs, I'll think, yeah, but I maybe didn't watch the last video you did. But this time I will not tell you everything. But so this is what I'm stitching. I've just been I do have some brown in there, but I've mainly been working with the sort of carrot. It's called Carrots. It's a Weeks Dye Works floss. And I'll show you what I did on this. This is just like a Charles Craft 8 o'clock 14 count that I really like. It's not the fancy overdyed floss that is shown on the pattern. Oh, there's another needle. I've got like 3 or 4 now. Okay. So, I just love this owl. I would like to get the bear. I know there are people who do all of them and they stitch them all on one fabric, and that's really pretty. I'll do mine separate. Um, then I get to choose different fabrics, and that's fun. Okay. So this is like the neck part up here, and I had done some on the neck, or had I? But anyway, it goes up a lot more. And I brought this down. I don't think I had done any down here, and this is actually the leg that's standing on the branch. And then I filled in a bunch in here and up here. So anyway, it's a mixture of cross country and English method. But I think that it helps with the variegation of the floss and everything. So now I'm just going to put this all back in here. Um, let's see. You know, it's actually cooler today. It's just in the low 90s, but it's not cool in here. I don't have the air conditioning on, I don't think. And I've got the doors closed, you know, to make the video. So it feels hot, even though it's not as hot as it's been for a while. And everyone I hear anywhere in the country, I don't know, it could be anywhere in the world. Oh, it's just so blistering hot everywhere. Okay, yep, I worked on the bar now. Was glad to make some progress on that. Okay, I am going to show you a project I did not work on. But the reason for showing you is it was a whip go call for July. And I worked on one and I didn't work on the other one. So I just am going to show you the one that I didn't work on that I need to still work on. So hopefully you'll remember when it's from this book, Cross Stitch Patterns in Color, Designs by Gerda Bankson. She has a bunch of rose designs in here, and I'm doing different ones in each square of this afghan. And I just have like, here I just have a little bit of stem, and I haven't done much at all on this. And I started it like a couple years ago and have not worked on it since I started it. So I have a lot to do. Wouldn't hurt if I worked on this a lot. Anyway, yeah. So I have a bunch of leaves. But so I need to work on this. It's a whip go call for July, but I haven't worked on it yet. Sorry that things are a little less organized than I originally planned. But the little avalanche of stuff falling down kind of changed where everything was and got me all turned around. Okay, but this is the other whip go call for July, poppies and hummingbirds. And I think I showed this to you guys before. Oh, you know, I had that all ready to go to show you, but hold on. Let me find where I have my little chart. Okay, so this is my, you know, I wonder if my little whip go chart. Can you see that poppies and hummingbirds gives me bingo going across? And were I to stitch on my rose afghan going on a diagonal, and if I were to work on W, which was a whip go call from, I don't know, February, and I still haven't, I brought the fabric downstairs so I would wash it. Once it's washed and dried, I can actually stitch on it if I just will. I have the floss, I have the pattern. I just have to do it. But anyway, I did stitch on Poppies and Hummingbirds. That's this pattern right here. This is one of my other dimensions kits. There's only one of my kits I did not work on in July, and that's Yellowstone Inn or Old Faithful Inn that I haven't worked on since like April or May, probably April. But I didn't do a lot on this, but what I did do was black, and so it makes a big difference in what it looks like because makes such a difference. So I really there's more black to put in. I just worked on the one poppy that I first started on that's kind of in the middle of the pattern. It has the most black and it's in the center. The other poppies do have black, but they're not because they're not facing you, they're like you're seeing the side of the poppy. It has a different impact. Sorry, folks. Let me get this all flipped. Because as I stitch in hand most of my projects, the Barbara Anna design I have in a hoop. Every now and then I put something on a frame or in a hoop, but and there's a lot of reasons I prefer stitching in hand. Somebody was saying you don't get the right tension, and I thought, how do they know? When I look at my projects, they look fine. So what would they show me about my project that would look better if I wasn't stitching in hand? Okay. See, I put black around the middle. And there's some places over here and on these poppies, like at the bottom, you see, there's black. That will really look nice when I get it in. It's not hard, it's not a lot. I had been working on it and then I wanted to make sure I worked on some other projects that I hadn't been working on. And so I was glad that I chose to do those things, even if it cost the poppy project a little bit of progress. So I will work on this more, but like I brought my tree afghan down so I can work on that. I haven't worked on that for a bit, and I love my tree afghan, so it'll be fine. When I get to it, I get to it. Whoops. So, but I probably did pull it out and work on it because I had made it a Whip Go project. On the other hand, by making something a Whip Go project, I think sometimes I'm not working on a project that maybe otherwise I would be like, oh, I want to work on that. And I'll think, oh, it's a Whip Go project. I can wait till it gets called to work on it. Well, maybe I would work on it more if it wasn't. I don't know. I should see, like next year, do you work more on the projects that are or aren't Whip Goes? And I don't mean like the ones that I focus on the most, like the one I'm going to show you. This one I did, I hadn't worked on, and I was so sad that I hadn't worked on it. So I picked it up and started working on it, and I was so excited. I'm really excited to show you this. This is the one I'm designing. That's for my ancestor, my Anne Marie Bendixen Hansen sampler. She was a Danish immigrant to the United States in 1863. She never got the chance to become an American citizen because she died not long after getting here. However, her children lived, and that is how I get to be here. So let's see. This doesn't show you all of it. All of it goes to here. The rest of the fabric is going to be something else. I just haven't cut it off. The most recent thing I did and that I'm most excited about is the swan in the middle of the video. I designed that swan. I designed everything in here. It took a bit of work to get the swan done. And when I did, I was just so happy. And I know you can hardly see it, right? I have so much fallen in love with this swan that at first I was like, well, I gotta stitch that somewhere else. I should make a Christmas ornament. That would be perfect for a Christmas ornament. And then I was like, oh, in that song, they say 7 swans a swimming. Wouldn't it be cute to do 7 swans swimming on a lake? And I had this image of what it would look like. I was like, yeah. And then I was like, should I do the 7 swans on the lake like for other holidays? Then I was like, should I do like all the different things in the song, like a partridge in a pear tree and all these other things? So I was like drawing out what the partridge in the pear tree would be like. And all of them were easy to think how you would design. And then I was like, 5 gold rings. Man, what's going to be interesting about a cross stitch with 5 gold rings? It's like, do you do somebody's hand with the rings on it? Do you do just the rings? I had the hardest time. Then finally I came up with what I thought was a good idea. So we'll see if I get to all those glorious plans. But so I worked a little bit more on this heart. Not a lot, just a little. I finished filling in the pink petals on the prairie rose, and there's like a yellow center there. I don't know how close I can get this to. Let's see if I pull the computer this way. So this border, I added a bunch. I finished the leaf over here, and then I've added a couple leaves. I just need one more leaf over there, and I can start on my vine instead of all the leaves. I can do them all coming down here. I gotta find the right green. I can't find the right green for that. So when I hope you heard all that. Like, what if I'm too far from the computer? I have to be in just the right spot, or it like doesn't pick it up. I apologize if you didn't hear some of what I said. So look, I worked more on this border, bringing it across. I filled in more on the background here. So for the O, I took out what I had already done on the O. Man, I'm worried you can't hear me all the way over here. So I'll have to show it to you and then talk. But like the O, I had to, I took out what I had put in because even though I only had part of it, I had left out the little hole that is like my little decorative thing that makes it my alphabet. So I took it out and redid the O. Now, at first I didn't like my O, and then I was like, oh, I love this O, which is good because it's probably my model for my Q that I'm going to do next, which I think I'm going to do in the purple, lavenderish purple, because I can't find the pink I was going to use, this pink. I don't know what I've done with it. And, you know, if you don't write down what floss colors you're using, you might not remember what they are. But I designed this ribbon, and that's all of this, like I said, it's all my design. And then I put in a P, chose to do the blue. I think mostly we're just going to have letters for the rest of this row, depending on how it turns out at the end. If I need a motif to fit in at the end, I'll put one. But otherwise, then down on this next row, I'll have the candle. I think that's everything that I've added. I did come across where I have charted out the name Hanson, so now I can get back, and I know where the floss is for that, so I can get her last name in there finally. And I came across a bunch of other places where I had done my designs for this, so the things that I've been waiting to do because I didn't know where I put it because I'm so organized. I can now put in. I just so excited about this design. But even though there are times that I'm like, I just want to do this. Like, I don't want to do anything else. I don't need to eat. I don't need to drink. I'll just cross stitch on this. But then I say, no, fold it up, move it to a different spot. If it's not by where you always sit, you will work on something else because you will be like, I'm tired. What is right here that I can work on? So whatever I put there is what will get worked on. So that is the idea. This is going in its little bag. The one I made. I'm so happy. I'm proud of my bag. I need to make more, but I need to do many things. But I want to get working on that triac, and so probably I don't know when I'll work on this next. Okay, so I call this a new start, even though you won't hardly be able to tell what I've done because I just barely started it. And when I say barely, there's like 3 or 4 stitches. But I did start it. This is this lemon chiffon fabric. Now, I'm going to use the little board, even though the fabric is bigger, because the start is so small. And I know you're thinking, do you need to show me 4 stitches? Does it warrant it? Yes. So you can see the shade of yellow that I'm using on this yellow fabric. So it's right there because I have a center start. And this is going to be a pillow eventually. And it comes from, the design comes from the book Art Nouveau Cross Stitch. Some of you who've watched my videos know that I'm doing a Poppy Lady pillow. And this is kind of based off of Walter Crane's Poppy Ladies. This book is by Barbara Hammett. She has 3 designs in here. So I've almost finished this one, but I haven't quite finished it. And I have not yet started this one or gotten fabric for it. So I got the lemon chiffon fabric, and I'm starting in the middle of her dress. So it's this bright yellow stripe going down. And as you can see, it's almost all yellow on yellow on yellow with a little bit of green and like brown and white. But it's almost all yellow. So I'm really happy to have started that. No, it's not going to take place of me working on Poppy Lady, but I am going to work on it to have it moving along and started. I didn't want to just keep thinking that I would start it someday and someday never happened. Okay. I bought a design besides the Declaration of Independence for America's 250th anniversary by Praiseworthy Stitches. It's not the most popular design right now. There are a lot of other designs that a lot of people are stitching. But it is the one that appealed to me. I mean, a lot of them appeal to me. This one just particularly met all of my needs. Okay, so it is a Quaker, and oh, let me show you the back because this is by Pam Lewis, and it has her address if this is something that you want to get. Oh, and she has a website. But anyhow, so these are over-dyed flosses, and when I looked at the design, I thought, I think it looks better with the over-dyed floss. So you need 6 skeins of the dark blue that's all around. And so that's what I got first so that I could get most of the design done before I even need another floss. If I start in the middle and I do this dark blue, you see if I do the red, there's only so much I can do where it's a Quaker to then go to the next spot. So it helps if I do the dark blue, and then I can just go back and fill in the red and the light blue and the yellow and whatever other little colors are in there, white and black or whatever. Um, so this is Dye Work Americana is the dark blue. I will show that to you. And I'm going to show it to you also because what I read about it online, the comments people made was there's like almost no variegation in this, which made me nervous. There is variegation. I understand why they say there's none. Like if you get just one skein, you might look at it and say that's not variegated. But like in this project, if you get these two skeins, you know, there's a big difference between them. And by the time you put all three in there, I mean, they do look a lot the same. But when I was looking at them, I would be like, well, no, I see a place here where it's pretty light and places where it's really dark. So I think it won't have a strong variegation like some flosses might. Like the loops and threads flosses I have, for instance, have a high amount of variegation. But I think it'll be lovely. But I did just want to let you see that if you're ever thinking about doing Americana or like if you're trying to decide if you're going to do overdyed flosses, it is true that when you get the floss, you might be like, wait, why did I pay more money for this? It doesn't really look that different than if I'd just gotten DMC. I think it's $37.50 here. No, it's DMC $7.96. So anyway, I'm sure it's pretty in DMC as well, or whatever floss you want to use. Also, you could get the variegation by using different shades of DMC, but cutting very short lengths that you stitch with, is what I thought. Might not be quite the same as a variegated floss, but anyway, I'm ready to start this. I haven't quite started it yet. I'm using MCG Textiles. I got this off of eBay. Oyster. That is what I'm doing. I have a Polyvon project that I'm doing on Oyster. That's what that oyster looks like. So this is going to be on fabric like this. This is going to be very pretty. Okay. So I have floss, I have fabric, I have the pattern to start. Okay, I'm going to keep the pattern. Okay, so now I have shown you everything I have started. I'm going to show you some fabrics I have. I don't know, did I show you this before? This is for starting trade winds. I might have mentioned, if you watched my Teresa Wensler showcase, is that what I called it? You will see that I mentioned that I was going to start some Teresa Wensler projects. Sorry. I got a whole bunch of things to show you here. All right. Not really going in the order I had planned. So this is going on this fabric, and it's another one that I'm ready to start. So I don't know which one I'll start first. The one I just showed you, the patriotic one, or this one. As I said, I also have a lot of projects already started that I usually work on that I also want to make progress on. This is another one I'm ready to start. I don't know if I'll start it in August or September. I'm not sure what fabric I'm going to use for this. If I have the fabric or if I need fabric. So I like it on this light colored fabric though. The idea is in September people do Sampler September. And I was thinking of doing a Noah November where I could work on this as well and other Noah themed type things. But we'll see. We'll see if I keep up with these themes, because working on the stuff that you like or designing something new that you want to do is also has its own appeal. Okay, so speaking of projects that I want to start, I came across this old pattern book. Maybe I showed you this before. I don't know. I may have shown you some fabric like this one here, where I had started some of these designs. Now this is not 20 or even 25 years ago. Well, closer to 25 than 20. Probably more than 25 years ago. But anyway, a long time ago. I only have two nephews older than this pattern book. All my other nieces and nephews are younger than this, is how I look at this. But anyway, these are just lovely patterns. They have a lot of Kreinik in them. You know, it's just hard to see. I've actually made, you know what, let's show it around here. I've made this one. I gave that one to my brother. I had forgotten that I had made it, and when I was at his house, I saw it. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember making that. That was a headache and a half. You know, your very first Kreinik project. Anyway, but they're worth it. Look how pretty they are. So I would like to make those. But not on the fabric I had originally planned, where I didn't cut it out big enough for anything more than the design, and not left any for finishing. So, I don't know how I managed to do his. Maybe because his was this. I don't know. It's a miracle. Sorry to put you through watching me do this, but it's like a compulsion. I feel that this has to go in the sleeve before we do anything else. Okay. These, I came across these. I also want to start. I'm going to take them each out. I don't know if I should put them each in, because these are even harder to get back in than the other one. This is a national parks needlework. Big trees. Those are redwoods. But there's nothing like making my afghan, my tree afghan, and thinking of all these tree designs I want to do to make me think, why am I not doing this? I've had this forever. Not forever, but you know. Oh look, it's splitting down the side. It's such a tight fit. It's not gonna, the sleeve is not gonna survive the pattern. There we go. What's going on? This has a list of other designs they have. Grand Teton National Park. They have like a couple for the Grand Teton and Cathedral group. They have the Old Faithful, which I'm about to show you. They also have Yellowstone Lower Falls, which for some reason I don't have, but should. Half Dome at Yosemite, which I've never been to Yosemite. The South Rim of Grand Canyon National Park, which I have been there. Mount Rushmore. I've also been to Mount Rushmore. I should do all of these. I haven't been to Grand Teton, but to get to Yellowstone, I drove past those beautiful mountains. So I feel like it counts. Cape Hatteras National Seashore. I've been to a lighthouse in North Carolina, but not Cape Hatteras. It's called Old Baldy, and I don't know. It's the oldest lighthouse in North Carolina. I don't know if they would make a cross stitch of it. It's kind of plain. Whereas Cape Hatteras is this really pretty lighthouse. Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Oh, they have a cross stitch of that. What do you know? And then this one. And yeah, they have the same list on this one. It's from Fulmer Craft. They have an address here in Wyoming. I don't know if that's still good. Like I said, some of these things I've had for 20 years. I don't know that I've had them more than 20 years, but it's possible. This one is Old Faithful, and it's so beautiful. But I've been doing a puzzle, an online puzzle that Microsoft has. They have a whole bunch of puzzles for Yellowstone, so of course I picked that puzzle collection. And one of the puzzles is Old Faithful, and so whenever I work on it or see it, I'm just like, cross stitch of that. That would be even better than the puzzle. Um, let's see. Well, and I have Old Faithful Inn, which also has Old Faithful in it. But yeah, I just loved that. All those lovely things at that park. Okay. So I think I just had these to kind of show you alphabets that I was doing on my ancestors' cross stitch. I find it less necessary to show them to you than I originally thought I would. Okay. I'm going to start. I told you about the Teresa Wentzler pillow that I'm going to start, and the trade winds, and the um, Noah's Ark sampler. Well, I'm also starting a Paula Vaughn design. Some of you might have watched my video where I celebrated her designs. So I have 2 videos about Paula Vaughn. And let me just tell you, it's not easy to choose which one I'm going to do next. I already have 3 that I'm working on. And with how hot it was, I was very tempted to choose one of the wintry ones. But what I decided, sorry, it's taking me a minute to find where the design is. There's certain ones I'm already doing. Um, Sorry for the quiet. I have to think. I thought about doing that one, but sorry. This is why it would be so nice to have already marked where the pattern was, but it's just hiding from me. Um, Here it is. Okay, I just really love this one. So I think I'm going to do this one. My friend and I, when we were girls, we loved to play dress up in these old dresses. And I love the old sewing machine, the wallpaper, the old furniture. And I hadn't done an indoor scene yet. I have my irises one. Well, that's the one called Forgotten Basket. That's this one. That's irises by a fence post. So it's just a small design and it's outside. So she has a lot of beautiful flowers and things that are outside. And I said, no, I'm already doing one outside. And I had this one, which you can't really tell, but this is a porch scene with rocking chairs. And she has a ton of porches, which are wonderful. But I thought, well, I already have one that I'm doing that's a porch. And she has lots of lovely quilts as well. But I'm already doing this one that's like a quilt in a hoop. So I said, why don't I do an indoor one? And so that's why I picked that one. Okay, and I think I'm going to do it on this 14 count Aida. It's a really big piece of Charles Craft white Aida. Okay, so there were more patriotic things that I wanted to do. One of the things I was waiting was to find, that's that quilt in a hoop that I said I'm working on. Well, I need to work on it more, but anyway. Well, I can show you the other 2 polygons that I'm already working on. I know you're thinking it's going to take you just as long. That's the one with the rocking chair that I'm doing with those pretty roses. So I've got plenty of flowers there. Plus I have the Forgotten Basket, which is this one with pretty irises. So yeah, I think I might have mentioned that I had some pattern of American soldiers. Well, actually British and American soldiers from the Revolutionary War. So I am going to stitch these. I'm probably going to stitch this and on this right, it has 1776 already. So I'll probably put 2026 in there somewhere as well. And maybe put the word semi-quincentennial in there somewhere. a fabulously long word, and this is like what my one and only chance to use it somewhere in a cross stitch. So I'm going to. And you'll notice that we have our American soldiers and our British soldiers. And what I think I'm going to do is with one of our nice little American soldiers. I'm not sure which one. I think they're the ones on the bottom, probably. I am going to put something about, 250th or whatever words I decide to put on there with him. Like something that you would frame or make as a pillow. I don't know which. But all the other little guys, I think I'm going to cross stitch them and stuff them to be like three-dimensional, like that they could stand and make their own little soldier scene, which I don't know how big the fabric is, so I don't know how big they will be. I haven't made my decision on all of that, and I can just put regular fabric on the back, right? You can put something in the bottom to weight it so that they stay standing up and don't fall over. Sorry that I'm shaking the computer screen. But anyway, so when I had the fabulous idea to stuff them and make them three-dimensional little soldiers, I was like, but, and I'm already doing Mount Vernon as one of my cross stitches, but that's one I think I'm going to frame. But you know what? This book that has Mount Vernon in it, this is the one I'm putting in the frame. But look how many historic Virginia homes there are on here. Now, I know they're not all necessarily from the time of the Revolution, but guess what is from the time of the Revolution? They have, besides Mount Vernon, they have something called Woodlawn Plantation Mount Vernon, and that's this big fancy one up here. If you've never been to Virginia or one of those eastern states where they have these fancy old buildings, you should go. They're really cool. I love the architecture from that period. It's called the Federal period. And so there's some other buildings in here that I could easily do. Some of these would probably relate more to like the Civil War than the Revolutionary War. But I know that they have something from Williamsburg, which is a colonial place, right? So I just have to kind of, let me see where the Capitol at Williamsburg. And then I think if you consider I don't know if that's the University of Virginia or Monticello. One of them's the University of Virginia and one of them is Monticello. But anyway, there's a few different ones that you could stitch. But what if they were three-dimensional too? And I could make my whole little scene of revolutionary soldiers and buildings and, get completely carried away with it. There's some cross stitches out there of George Washington. Well, I have Yankee Doodle that I'm doing, right? It looks like George Washington on a horse. Now, I'm still going to frame that, but there are other patterns out there that you could do, and instead of framing it or making it like a pillow to sit on the couch, you could make it where you cut out you make it totally three-dimensional. Yeah, we'll see if it happens, but that's the goal right now for getting just like diving in deep to this whole semi-quincentennial celebration of our country. And you know what? If you are not like big on America and doing that, that is totally fine. I probably could get just as excited if we were doing like the 500th anniversary of Mexico or something, because I'd be like, I think I need a cactus with an eagle on it and a snake in its mouth. And I don't care which room of the house it goes in, but yes, three-dimensional, and we're going to cut out like super close. And I think I need some tango dancers on a street in Buenos Aires. We got to do the whole street. And it doesn't have to just be the American Revolution, but that's the thing that I'm all about. Okay, I don't know why I took that out. I got some fabric from Hobby Lobby. This is the brand. Nice and cheap, but guess what? You know what? It feels like it too. I'm not sure what I'm going to use this for, but I just thought I would show you. I was like, I'm going to get some of this so that I can do projects that I want to do. So that I have some Ada cloth for like, sometimes it's a small design, but a small design still tells you to cut out like 7 or 8 inches of fabric. So you need enough to not be short of what you need and yet enough of what you need. So, and then I got some white. The white, everybody buys the 14 count, right? This is 14 count, the brown is, but the white, I could only get 16. No, they had 14 count this time. Well, I managed to swipe it. They usually only have 16 count, but I got some 14 count. So that, I don't know. This could wind up being used for like Christmas type stuff where I do red and white decorating. There's some things I could do. Like the heart ornaments that I'm doing on red with white thread, I could do red on white. And then I'd have like 4 heart ornaments to put on the tree, assuming that I got them all done this year, which that's a big assumption. Okay, because I did this whole let's celebrate Paula Vaughn and let's celebrate Teresa Wensler, the idea was to work on those patterns, which I still have not done. But I am going to, which means I will be working on my castle sampler, and it's been so long, let's just take a minute to remind ourselves how little I have done on it. But meaning, so you know when I show this next, because it has been a long time since I showed this. This is all I have of the castle sampler, and you should know the castle sampler is huge. Well, by comparison to some of my other projects, it's not, but that's all I've got. And let me, rolling that, and yet I'm still getting my creases, even though it's rolled, because that just tends to happen. The castle sampler is out of this book, and I don't think I did take the time to show it when I did my video on Teresa Wensler, like to show what I had done. And so I'm just in the middle of there with some green in part of the castle. So there's a lot to do on this, and that's one I need to work on. I actually did buy some more patterns than what I've shown you so far. So let me show you. I think this is one of the last things. I'm so sorry for shaking that. One of the last things to show you. Oh, I completely forgot I was going to show you for Daffodil Lady, the pattern on the yellow where I had like 4 stitches in bright yellow. The lady wearing a dress and there's a bunch of daffodils. I went and got not all the floss, but a bunch of the floss. I am just using DMC, but it's very yellow. And I know some people love to see the flosses. Some people don't care about stuff like that. All right, so I'm doing my Marbeck Angel, and I was online, and I was looking at Just Nan patterns because I like Just Nan, and came across some of her old angel patterns, and guess what? Which somebody was trying to sell like on eBay. There were some Marbeck angel patterns, and actually there were a lot of people selling Marbeck, and some of them, there are people on Etsy and on eBay that they spent, I don't know, $2, or they didn't. Somebody spent $2 on a pattern, and now they're selling it for like $14 or $15. But this lovely person had these patterns that had cost, and I do mean originally, look at that original price tag, like $3. How much do you think I paid for these patterns? Did I pay $15 for 8 Marbeck Angel patterns? No. They were about $3 each. God bless that person. Because I got a whole bunch of these. Okay. Now, I don't know which one is your favorite. I'm going to show you my mother's favorite. Well, she liked these pink ones. Look at how pretty that is. That's the Baroque angel. She's an angel playing a harp. My mom doesn't like wings, so she would stitch them all and they'd just be fancy ladies. But I love the wings. And look at that halo. This is with like your crinoline. When it's stitched, it'll be so pretty. Um, she also really liked this one, the Victorian Angel. Look at that lantern. Yeah, she's very pretty. Those were not my two favorite. I got them because they were in the group. My favorites are here. So I will show you. This is probably one of my less favorites, but I mean, I still like all of them. This is the Tudor Angel. And this lady, she's got a list, and I don't know if it's the list of who's getting into heaven or who's staying out. So I don't know if I want to be on the list or not. This is, I don't know, this angel makes me think of like the Virgin Mary because she's got a baby, but maybe she's supposed to be kind of like a guardian angel. It's called Renaissance Angel. So her holding a baby is very unique. She has everything is beautiful, not just the wings and the halo, but like her gown is quite pretty. But yeah, those wings are nice. Okay, so then we have, let's see, these are probably my favorites. So these are about the same. So there's the Coventry Angel. I love the colors on that. Kind of like the morning sky, the way the angel's wings are. I just think of how like pink tips the clouds and the how things look. This is the Florentine Angel. But what I remember about the angels that we saw in the National Gallery of Art that were like paintings from Italy, where they were like cherubs, you know. They had bodies that looked like babies and heads that looked like grown men. And I just remember just being kind of weirded out at the concept. Now I understand that this classic art thing, but anyhow. So when I think of Italian angels, I always think of the little cherubs, Raphael's little cherubs. Um, this is the Bethany angel. Like she's just swell. That beautiful chalice, and I mean, she's fantastic. Okay, and then so she's my favorite. I don't know why I showed her next. She's my favorite. But so I will show this last, even though it's not my favorite, but she's wonderful. And guess what? Do I have all the Marbeck angels? No, I do not. I do have some that I haven't shown you that I have in my collection. I have the Serenade Angel. I have the Elizabethan Angel. I have the Regency Angel. I have the Garden Angel that you've seen, and I think I have another one. I don't know why I can't remember which one it is. But anyhow, that's all those wonderful designs. And yet, as excited as I was about the Marbeck Angels, like the acquisition I'm most happy about is this old book called American Samplers. So some of you may already know this book. It's from the 1920s. And unfortunately, it has a bit of a smell to it. So if it didn't have a smell to it, I would just have this all the time and be reading it and going through it. It has lists of samplers, American samplers, and a description of it says how big they are, how many alphabets, 4 alphabets, the border of conventional flowers, inside squares that are joined together, at bottom, large house, tree fence, small house, and baskets of Townsend flowers. Verse 94, which they have a list of verses in here. It says who owns the sampler. Well, this was in 1920, whatever. And it says who did it. This was Eliza Reed, 13 years, had done that sampler. Well, besides having this like list of all the samplers that have, like, they had a huge list of people who had done samplers. They have photographs. They are black and white photographs. But they do give you an idea of how they put their samplers together. Like I said, they have, okay, I had thought I'm going to make a sampler and use stuff from this book. What about one of these verses? And it just shows how much culture has changed. Because I don't know. Some of them I just don't know if I would. Now maybe this one. See truth, love, and mercy and triumph descending, and nature all glowing in Eden's first bloom. On the cold cheek of death smiles, and roses are blending, and beauty immortal awakes from the tomb. Because that's about like the resurrection, right? And life after death. Well, so that's not so terrible, but some of them are just really kind of a little bleak or a little too much of whatever they are. But there's every kind. I think this was a man that did this one, or a boy. So like you can't always see everything all that well for recreating it. But they do have a section in the back where they give you ideas of stitches. So a lot of these samplers were embroidery. They were not strictly cross stitch. And yet some of them, the pictures are so clear that you could do this. You could make this sampler pretty much from this picture. Now you have to guess at certain things. I mean, it's not a pattern itself, but first of all, you could blow it up and you would get, that would help a little bit. And then, like, yeah, so see how they have these motifs that show you how to make your sampler and come up with your borders. The really amazing, I mean, they're all, everything about this is amazing, but when you can read it, so like they go through and they tell you all about like how they taught people to make samplers, and so uh, in the beginning part, which is like the introduction, right? Um, they tell you the earliest mention of a sampler so far found is 1502, when Elizabeth of York paid $8 or whatever for an ell of linen cloth. Well, not 1502. 1502. I think that this is like in England, not in America. But anyhow, um, so they go through and they tell you all about it. Like this is about 18th century samplers, and um, it was back when, like not the 18th century, but like the 16th century was when you had your band, your narrow band samplers, and they thought that had to do with the way the cloth was made and what was available, really. Um, but so then they have other places where they write about. Most of it is this registry that tells you about all these different samplers. There are quite a few pictures of samplers. Then they have one, schools and school mistresses. So it makes a difference which school you went to, who the teacher was. The teacher had a lot to do with how the girl's sampler was going to look or be designed. And so, anyway, they have this. Now, if you're someone who likes genealogy or history of any kind, they have a list of early schools. And you can oftentimes find a lot of stuff online that show records of things like that. Like I found my great grandmother in the school that she had gone to in the early, like a long time ago, but not 18th century. But you know, like it had like the program that said what everybody had done and things like that. Sorry. Um, I say sorry because my mind is wandering. I'm hearing people talking in the house. I'm kind of distracted. But yeah, so then they have materials, designs, and stitches, and um, they go through and they Register of Embroidered Arms. It's just a great, great book that I am, once I've gone through and read it and consumed it, maybe I will make a video to explain the book better, the different parts of the book. That's pretty good for now. Let me look at my little list, my little to-do list of what I was going to do in my video and make sure I haven't forgotten anything that I was going to cover. Oh, I was going to mention this. There's all kinds of like themes that people do for their stitching of what they plan on doing and stuff. There's a lady that does a letter game, and each month she draws a new letter. And the letter she had drawn for July, I think, was the letter P. I was like, oh, that goes with my Paula Vaughn idea. But the idea is you pick a project that has that in it. So it could be a picture of a poppy, or the designer could have a name that begins with P, like Paula Vaughn, or the name of the pattern, like how that one pattern was called Morning Song. Well, if the letter had been M or S, you could have picked it for that. So I don't know who it is or what they've called for August. So, and I didn't actually stitch on my Paula Vaughn, but I did stitch on my poppies. So I'm going to consider that I've done that. And if I hear who it is or find that, then I will move on to the next letter and maybe try to do that. We'll see. I might have too many of these things going, but the whip goat calls for August that's one thing that I'm doing. And the calls were, sorry, in case you were curious, 19 and 23. And sorry, we have to go back into my picture here. 19 for me is the Forgotten Basket, which going to remind you. That's this. So when I say that I was going to stitch on this because I was celebrating that my Paula Vaughn video, the first one I did, had reached 400 views on the 4th of July. So I made another video, decided I'd start another project, but I also wanted to stitch on each project, which I have not done yet. I still want to do. But also, it's a whip go call for August. So I think that means for me that I want to stitch on it more than I otherwise would. You know how I stitch it very little. So that's more. If I also did this thing where they're calling the letters, and if I picked Paula Vaughn for it and I picked this one, then maybe I would stitch on it 3 times as much. But some people let everything count as one. Like they stitch the amount they would and count it for each game. And some people do more. If you're familiar with Andrew the Runner Stitcher, he has so much to show you because he like piles it on. Like I'm going to do 500 for this and 500 for that and 500 for that. So then he stitches 1,500 stitches on a project. And when you look at it, you say, oh, look at how much you did. So I think I'm more tempted to do something on that. Obviously, you're not going to see 500 stitches from me total, let alone on any one thing or in triplicate for one project. But the other project that is number 19, and then I think 23 is Noelle Corbeneau, and I left that project and the pattern upstairs. But that is one of my flower vases, these beautiful flowers. That's a French design from no, is that right? Reflet de Soie. Does that sound right? That sounds right. That's the designer. Okay. All right, those are the calls for, and I can show you here. For August, Paula Vaughn Flower Basket is right here under the pink, and Noelle Corbeneau is right there. So neither of them will give me like whip go because there will still be, or bingo or whatever, there will still be projects in those rows that are not completed. But it's good that they will remind me to stitch on those projects because I'm very much love all of my projects and want to stitch on all of them all the time, but everything is not possible. So let's see. So some other ideas that I had for all of these themes that you can stitch on. I had thought that for August I would have genealogist when I stitch on things related to genealogy, like my ancestors of 1776 or Anne Marie Ben Dixon, or some of the family trees I've shown you, or my sagebrush sampler, which is related to the town that I grew up in. Anything of that order. Or like the one from my grandmother, or any of those kinds of things. I don't know if I will get to it or not. I already have shown you quite a lot that I want to do, and it just may not happen. I would love it if it could. Um, I've had other ideas for August besides that. One was August, like AWE, for my awesome, kind of awe-inspiring projects, meaning my really big projects that people would be like, never gonna do that. To work on them, to like make some progress. So my Heart C6 Sampler works, it's huge. Any of the tablecloths that are like huge, any of these projects where to show you the whole fabric, it's as tall as me or as wide as my arms or whatever, anything that's really big. I don't know. We'll see if that happens. And then I was just going to do some life updates. People tend to do that. So I'm done showing you cross stitch or talking about cross stitch at this point. And I will just go fast. So I'm done in a few minutes. But the first thing, I think I kind of already mentioned that I'd had a lot of health problems. I've been having a lot of health problems lately, but the first couple weeks of August and the last week of June, I was having a lot of trouble with my heart. So that has just really affected what I have been able to do. I have other issues as well, but they're just, anyway, they're better a little bit now than they were. Yay, I'm happy that they're better. I hope that they will hold out for me and I can do the things I need to do in life. I got to see, just not yesterday, but the day before, I got to see for the first time my little great nephew. That is the first great grandbaby in our family. So that was very exciting. And then the last thing is just an update on my sister who I went to see today. She was practicing standing and gaining her balance and moving her left hand. You can't see me. I'm trying to do that, but it's very slow for her. Even just like sitting up straight or talking loud enough for people to hear her. She's like wearing a heart monitor. She has a lot of medical issues probably that contributed to the stroke, and then again since the stroke. Like they were saying that with her shoulder, she's developing a contracture in her shoulder that makes it hard for her to move that left arm. Or like we were trying to put a shoe on her foot. Well, you like your foot gets swollen or whatever when you're in a wheelchair and laying in bed and can't walk and things like that. So she has a lot of struggles, but she's quite the trooper about it all. And so I just wanted to show you, I had this all ready to go, but now I'm just going to show you a little short, it's like a few seconds only video. When I went to see her a couple weeks ago, I got to see her walk. They did not let me see her walk today, but it kind of depends on who's there, who the physical therapist is. They're not all created equal, but so this physical therapist let her walk for me. And this is mainly going to show you what she's doing with her feet.
I don't necessarily know where you were, but you're doing a lot of self-correcting, which is good. You'll stop and think through stuff, and then you'll make your next step.
Look, she's walking.
And so I don't necessarily know where you were.
It's just a very short video, so that's all that is. And then I was just going to show you a picture from today. She looks so good in that cute outfit. And she's sitting up straight there, as you can see. But she was having, leaning back more, which I don't know why it's different from one day to the next. But That's the updates on everything in my life, and I don't know when I will make my next video. I know there are people who know exactly when they're going to make their next video, but I'm not really sure. Thank you for joining me for this video and watching all the way to the end. If you want to like my video, that would be wonderful. And if you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you subscribe so you can be sure to catch the next one.